So, hello everybody. Welcome after a large summer break. I hope you had a lot of rain and some sunny days wherever you have been. We are now back with our webinar, and I have two guests, Uwe and Manuel. Welcome. They support me within this very, very, very spicy topic. It's lunchtime, so this lunch webinar will be a spicy one. And you can imagine that sales or scaling is one of the most important questions we as investors and angel investors especially have, how our companies grow. That's why I have invited two persons. Uwe, it's the age, I start with the age. Uwe, who is a really, I would say, old school sales guy, many years in the industry, and that I think that's a special mentioning, is for working for companies who not is like Microsoft, where everybody you just take the calls and make contracts. So software, value-based, going into the organization and finding the right person who helps you. Maybe it's the first person, a coach, and then you go forward. So he's representing more I would say, the 20, 30 years history in sales with his experience. And the other person is Manuel. Hi, Manuel. And I have chosen Manuel because he's supporting our startups in variety, and he has even worked for two startups. I'm on the board or investor, and I had great feedback from his work. And Manuel is doing, I would say, the Z generation part. How would you do it? And we may find out it's similar or different. And we're starting with the agenda first. Manuel will present his company and how he does his work with the startups. And then we're going into the discussion. Now, just 3 administration things. If you have questions, you can put them on the chat. I try to answer them then after in the discussion round. There's no direct question in the call, so please make notes. And if you see controversy things, please mention it. We will stop directly at 1 o'clock. So whatever question we have not answered, they will never be answered. Sorry on that. And thirdly, administration is for people who don't know SICTIC. Just a little bit, a brief introduction. We are the largest network in Switzerland for angel investors. I just had yesterday catch-up call with a German founder, and he said he was amazed about the size of, we are over 300 people here in the club, and we're doing so many investments, especially in Germany or in other big countries doesn't exist like this. So that's unique. But we're just a matchmaking platform. So we try to find the best startups for you, but you are the investors into it. And we are a super cool ecosystem. And people here are nice, friendly angel investors, and we try really to help the startup economy to grow in Switzerland. We're lacking a little behind Israel and the US, so we're catching up. So that's about SICTIC. I'm Ralph on the board, many years angel investor, and Manuel, we start with you. So you have the slides already presented. So go on and let's see what you're talking, and then we're starting the discussion.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Ralph, and also for Joel for organizing this session. I think we have more than 30 people live, so maybe just as like a first 10-15 minutes of input, and then we'll open the floor and like any questions, like well presented, like even Generation said, like I don't have any Instagram, sporadically zero activities, just LinkedIn. Or maybe too old for TikTok and Lemonade
maybe
already.
Not that generation.
but I think like how did it start, right? I mean, I think 1 month before the pandemic started, like February 2020, I had the first session with SICTIC together on like basically education, when Thomas Tübendorf himself mentioned like, hey, many angel investors put down their money. I think like then startups founders will do what they promised to do, like they will scale from 100K to 1 million to 10 million ARR and beyond. and which is obviously the intention, but like where do things break? And since then, I think like the availability of capital is just significantly different. So efficiency and while maintaining speed is just like really a new market need. And I mean, earlier on you could raise $1 million, do some trial and error, and it's like failed. Let's raise another $1 million. Let's raise like a 5 million seed round in 2021 to 2023, and that just fails, right? So I just want to take maybe next 5 minutes a bit on the climate, and then like 5 minutes really actionable, and then like 5 minutes on some initial Q&A, and it's just opening the floor. I think one thing that's really true is like growth at all costs is dead. Like you need to scale sales efficiently. You cannot just like buy 10 tools, like hire 10 people, have 10 channels, go to US first. So focus on top line growth, add a lot of mass, including lots of fat, lose a lot of flexibility and efficiency. Once you have 20 people, it's much harder to adapt processes and ideal customer profile and so on. And since about roughly like a year, I'd say like early 2024 for sure, it's much more about bottom line growth. Like how can you like not sell $1 for 50 cents basically, and add lean muscle, low fat, how I would say, like win endurance, like make sure you're reasonably independent in a path also without investors, right? What if the Series A round after the seed round never comes? What if like the angel round with SICTIC is the last funding you ever get? Obviously that's not the objective, but I think it's key. But these two pictures, by the way, the left one is like SalesPlaybook headquarter, like aka my office, selling direct now. I'm done basically like pushing large weights. It's much more boxing, like enjoying it more. I think like that's also a bit reflective of life as an entrepreneur over the last like 5 years. So anything that I will tell you like here is not based on a lab or based on studying 5 years at University of St. Gallen, where you unfortunately don't learn that much about B2B sales from my own experience, like multiple people telling me. But I mean, it's really helping entrepreneurs go from 0 to 100K to $1 million in ARR to like 10. In some cases, 0 to 10 in 3 years. That's rare, but in some cases, also just finding product market fit really quickly without wasting tons of money. So, very briefly about myself, entrepreneur myself, founded SalesPlaybook 5+ years ago, put it to like 30K monthly recurring revenue as like a solopreneur, how many people would call it maybe, and then scaled it to 7-figure annual revenue at less than 10 full-time equivalents in roughly 3.5 years. So I started in sales on a street, the people that want to sell you like Save the Children and so on, still a donor there, by the way. And then helping to sell the last Tesla Roadsters back in 2012 when electric mobility was not that cool, right? And then selling some 7-figure Salesforce transformation at Accenture, so to ABB, to the World Economic Forum, worked for a year with Post Finance on like really company-wide core bank transformation. And then actually ended a startup like for machine learning called OneDot. We did a rebranding after 3 months, so not that fun if you have 0 brand equity, 0 product market fit, selling 5-figure AI SaaS solutions. And then people ask like, hey, where do you learn this stuff? I was like, well, literally from trial and error, and it was not that fast and it was not that efficient. And that's now what we do since 5.5 years with SalesPlaybook, actually. And yes, some formal education like a decade ago, which is not that relevant, I think, honestly, for what we do, what we cover today. So I think one thing that people need to understand, especially as early stage startups and therefore also angel investors, is big Mario without small Mario does not experience any value, right? Like people always like, especially tech startups, they focus on the features they have, the total addressable market, the tech they have, the team they have, the track record of combined years and whatever they did before and what they will do after. Customers only care about like, do you solve a problem that I identify with, that I need to solve urgently, as like, I'm small Mario. If like a turtle approaches me or like a bad flower, I'm dead. And can your product help me become Fire Mario, become happy, become successful? That's the only thing. Like you need to have a before after state, not only pitch the solution. The second thing, and that's a bit a wordy slide. So anybody register, like happy to share the slides, right? Everybody tells you like an angel investor basically like, well, why do you need 500K of angel investor funding? Why do we need to hit product market fit? What is that even? There's no magic bell ringing, right? So I would segment it as an equation like we did in school, right? Like message market fit and product channel fit. And there's just a lot of variables to solve for, like who's the buyer, like the company, the human being, what's the problem you solve, what's the solution you achieve, like what's the results, not like the tech solution. Why does somebody need to act now, and Are there people? Is there money? Is there commitment available now? And then, like, how does your average contract value look like? Because it's really different to sell Upjohn, Ralph, where you, for example, on a board 6-figure annual contract value to large banks, or sell something like small PDF to basically small like individuals, like for $20 a month. So how hard is it to switch for people from SAP to Microsoft solution for an ERP, versus they can just like choose Calendly versus another scheduling solution, right? What's the stickiness? And then are these people on, like, are they on TikTok? Are they on LinkedIn? Do they open physical letters? Do they trust LinkedIn or email? We had a case, for example, where we started off with LinkedIn outbound because it was about corporate real estate, and sure, the head of innovation from Swiss Prime that is on LinkedIn. But then we went to public services, and most Gemeinde MitarbeiterInnen are not on LinkedIn, and we switched to physical letters, right? Because the opening rate for a public servant is pretty much 100%. Like, if a letter comes on your desk, you need to open it. It's your job. So we need to switch channel, for example. So I think the quick win here is you need to build outbound. You need to approach 50 people here, 50 people here via different channel. Like, just solve for these variables and get data on what it is. Like, don't rely on referrals, your personal network, some events, and then you have like 10 customers within like 10 niches, 10 different personas, and you don't know how to scale, right? So focus on a niche as soon as you can that's working, and don't try to add people to this equation before you don't solve the variables. Like, people should be the last piece here. And just one word on outbound. I mean, people say like cold calling is dead, cold email is dead, LinkedIn is dead, everything is dead. Like, there's no way to talk to people, and GDPR is making it possible. One thing that's crucial is you need to focus on scaling trust. So if you want to do cold email, letters, whatever, like, have some content. This can be physical letters, this can be content on LinkedIn or another platform. Have some physical or virtual events, and then do outbound on that. Do outbound based on something that's valuable, that's intriguing for people, and not just like, if I send an email to Ralph and say like, hey Ralph, I would love to have you on the board of SalesPlaybook. You're probably not really busy. When's the next time you have an hour for lunch? Ralph will never reply to me because he's already got 10 board mandates. He's reasonably busy. And like, why should he reply to me, not one of the other 100 startup founders he probably gets? So I need to create that compelling reason to act, and be valuable and be at least intriguing, so he has one reason to talk to me. The other thing is, I still get people on a pretty much daily basis, at least like weekly, multiple times. They tell me, Manuel, I need more calls, I need more leads, I need more sales reps, I need more channels, I need to go to the US because it's not working, right? It's not about having more activity and just like having more things to do on your plate. Like, as a startup founder, there's enough to do. It's really about qualified pipeline. How can you get predictability of like so-called ideal customer profiles, having interactions with you that you understand as soon as possible, will they become customers eventually? And I mean, be really deliberate in how you scale that, right? Like, I mean, we have a 19-question quiz before anybody talks to us, basically. And people literally go in and say like, hey, look, please fill this assessment and tell us, what is it about? Do you need more pipeline? Do you need to close more deals? Do you need to scale sales efficiently? How many sales qualified leads do you have? Where do you want to go? Like, what's the transformation you're looking for? And then, are you doing like 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure annual revenue? Because that's relevant for the transformation. Like, who are you? There's even like really specific questions, or like, hey, do you want to solve this problem in days or quarters, right? Because that's the urgency then, right? Like, how much are people willing to invest? Like, before you even have these conversations, like, have people self-qualify, not what a sales rep tells you. Like, and like, oh, I had a 1-hour meeting with Uwe, and even if it was scheduled only for half an hour, next week we go for lunch because he's bored, and probably not, but he's bored and he just wants to meet me for lunch multiple times, and I don't know if this will ever lead to revenue. And if I don't have that path to revenue, then stop, right? Disqualify. So one thing, and that's like a real HubSpot screenshot out of my CRM, right? Where I just need to understand will I hit my annual, quarterly, monthly target in sales based on a pipeline I have? Pipeline is future revenue. You need to understand this, right? And then one more piece of maybe just sparking conversation afterwards as well. People ask me a lot of times, did sales cycles get longer? Do you need 6 months to close a deal? What took you 4 months last year? Does it? And my honest answer is like, a lot of people don't know. Like, they stop to understand if deals will ever close. It's always this like, let's talk next quarter. Now I'm busy, budget shifted. I need to align internally. Maybe when the product is a bit more mature. But it's really interesting what you do. And people just don't know if they will ever do revenue or not. So the faster you can understand, like with what you can call as a term social selling, if you get a warm introduction, if you get intelligence on a buyer journey, how the process will look like, if you share a mutual action plan of like, hey Ralph, now I do this brief intro, and then we have a panel, and then we have a short debrief, and that's the mutual action plan. And Ralph says, that's exactly what we're going to do. I don't care so much if this takes like 3 minutes or 3 quarters, as long as I have predictability in it. But if you do everything eyes cold and you just like send 4 emails and then you give a demo and then a pitch and then another free trial and then a trial evaluation, and then you still don't know, right? You just get really low predictability. And one more thing is really, none of us would try to complete a difficult puzzle without having the picture, right? I hate that. Like my wife maybe like, let's just go and puzzle it. Like, no, I need the picture. Give it back to me. Like, I want to know like how much of the puzzle I have. Is it 100 pieces or 1,000? Is that 900, right? I mean, also for your next like seed or Series A funding round, it's important if you can claim that you captured 20% market share within a really narrow niche. For example, in a machine learning startup, this was e-commerce plays in Switzerland in consumer electronics. Like, how do you define that? Like, okay, there's like only 15 people selling consumer electronics online in Switzerland. And if we have at least 3 of them with an ARR contract with like recurring revenue, then we have 20% of that. Then we can go to Conrad and Cyberport and notebooks billing to Germany, right? So at least need to understand if you're on track towards a defined segment. And I mean, some things on the efficiency part, I still see people like they copy paste snippets, they copy paste emails and so on, that they waste a lot of time in writing manual emails and writing everything together and the company introduction and the offerings on. I mean, get HubSpot, even if it's like HubSpot sales started, and just like have these templates, have these snippets ready. Everybody sends out the same things the same way consistently. Like, it's also creating trust if even 2 co-founders communicate like very, very similarly, right? And one last thing on that, please do not throw Simba to the hyenas, right? I see this over and over and over again. And every single week, I probably have 2 founders reaching out, or 2 head of sales, like, hey, the head of sales didn't work out, or the founding account executive did not work out. Because the person was a trained sales professional, like a pilot, and they've been expected to hit message market fit, to figure out positioning, packaging, pricing, to build outbound sales, to implement HubSpot, to close deals at the same time. The founder cannot coach them because they've never done it before. They don't get a 6-figure salary, so you can afford people who have done it before. So it's like, hey, here's a 70K fixed salary with a quote on it to like, that's revenue based, even if nobody even did that revenue before. And then the sales rep says like, yeah, I will do all of the above, but honestly, they've been trained to jump on a call, pitch, present, give a demo, and then hopefully close a deal. Not more, not less. It's like going to a pilot and it's like, can you please build the airport, the plane, do the ticket sales, build the website, do the seat allocation, fly the plane, and I will drastically underpay you what you would otherwise do. And the pilot was like, maybe you give me 3% equity, which will be huge, right? And it never works. So, and people are like, what sales hire do I need first? Like, get somebody that's like Simba, that's reasonably good at, you can throw challenges at them and that they're versatile, but be honest about them, right? It's not about revenue, it's about learning capacity. And I mean, now we can basically discuss anything like ChatGPT and AI disrupting everything in sales. Are there still Series A's in Switzerland? What's different about the German-speaking market versus the US and so on? Maybe just as a parting thought here, after about 50 minutes, that's me on the left side to Jeremias Meyer, founder of Bixio and Eyebrows, fantastic angel investor, at 6 p.m. on a Friday, putting a LinkedIn direct message via video. 5 minutes later, I got a reply. about like less than 12 months later, one of his portfolio companies called Erica was sold to Logitech by Andreas Michel here, actually, like that head of sales that I introduced in this video from Zahnarztzentrum, actually rammed fast, went from like less than 10 customer projects to 50 plus subscriptions to exit. So things can happen. It can be real, but you need to be really deliberate and efficient and iterate really fast. And with that, happy to give the mic back to you, Ralph, for anything on the questions on the Q&A and also any questions you prepare for Uwe and myself.
Yeah, I didn't prepare any questions, of course not. This is a lively discussion part. So, but when I see that, I am not surprised. You mentioned a lot of things I have also in my mind when I'm thinking of B2B sales. So we're focusing on B2B sales, just to say that. Now, I want to just involve Uwe a little bit. I mean, I was a little bit nasty about telling, yeah, you're old school, but now you're working also for startups, and you have seen now the presentation of Manuel. What personally do you think is a difference to work with a startup and with the startup world instead of, I would say, those old legacy software cool companies, instead of the new kids on the block? Did you see anything now you have heard that would say like, oh, that's flashing me, or this is totally different? Or maybe it's not different, where you say, I don't believe that.
Well, I'm a big tech or old tech kind of guy, but I'm sure from what I saw and what I'm hearing from the startups that the concepts, the principles of sales are the same. The main difference probably is you have to be even more pragmatic because you don't have the huge marketing budgets, for example. You don't have masses of pre-sales and people you can use. You have to be really pragmatic. That's why I agree with 99% what I saw from Manuel. One point I would be a little careful is, the dashboards and things like that. I would not exaggerate it with the systems and the dashboards and the 25 reports, and keep it really pragmatic. And the main thing is, and this hasn't changed since the 90s, the main thing you need is a list of the opportunities with a company, with a project, with a sales amount, with the probability, and with that single list, you can do a lot of the sales meetings.
So to hear that makes me a little bit more comfort. I'm also a strong believer that the old sales school is not that bad, but I feel that, and Manuel, I'm absolutely on you that especially the social selling is more important nowadays because you can reach easier a bigger target. But my main problem right now is more that I have two founders. Hopefully, one of them is a visionary, salesy guy, and he's going to do the sales. And the company only grows when he is going to sell. And the jump from going from founder selling to an organization. I did not see that in your presentation, Manuel. How do you tackle that? And that comes with two questions. One question is, what kind of salespeople should I hire? Senior salespeople, junior salespeople, so bringing them up and make them to a salesman, so top down versus bottom up. And also, one of the attendees was asking the packages. I mean, for sure, a senior salesperson has a bigger package than a junior person, but it can be very expensive. And you said the financing rounds are now not that fast and big as they were, and try and error is less allowed nowadays. So concentrate. How can a founder team or a founder based selling method went into, I would say, an organic DNA of a company? can you share some of your experiences here, or maybe there's no clue on that? And Uwe, you also had that in one of your mandates, where it didn't work, huh? So where the transfer from founders did not go to the sales organization. That's why I think, Manuel, you wrote somewhere that you try 95% of the sales hiring are mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just on expectation management as well, right? I mean, we still talk very broadly about salespeople, right? I mean, one question is like, what should that salesperson ever do? What are the jobs to be done? Is it to find message market fit? Is it to fill the pipeline? Is it to close the pipeline? Is it to expand existing customers?
All of them.
So that's like asking, what should the football player do?
Yeah.
Do you want them to score goals, to be a great midfielder, to defend against the opposing team, or to be in the goal and keep the team safe, or to build the systems, or to mow the grass, right? Or do you want to put up like the programming for strength training, or is it the person getting budget to like get the team and build a new stadium? That's not the same that's not the same team, right? So Cristiano Ronaldo is not often at the goalpost and so on. Cristiano might be a fantastic world soccer player of the year for multiple times, but if you put him between the goalposts, he's not going to be the best goalkeeper in the world. And Cristiano Ronaldo is not bad, the team is not bad, the position is not bad, it's just not a fit, right? So the thing that I see very often with like senior sales hires, they evolved over time from generating pipeline to drive pipeline to close big deals. The thing is,
so that's more the junior. It would be okay with a more junior person together with the founder starting, and then he's going to expand his skills, his knowledge, and his facility. Or should you? That was the main question. I tried both. Both did not really work sometimes when we are on the board. Just to take an experienced sales manager, mostly expensive, 200, 300K. Including a package with shares, and then he should hire the persons which are doing the job. And he is like the coach who puts up the team for the football players. What is your? I mean, there's no one or right or wrong, but what would you suggest?
That was basically the approach of like 2021, right? If your seed funding round is 10 million, like you can allow for that approach, right? You can bring in a fantastic, even a chief revenue officer, and they just hire like 20 people. Like I had this with Patrick Trimby, right? Who was probably the only guy that built up sales from 6 figures to 7-figure ARR for B2B Sales in Switzerland. We co-hosted the podcast together. No, Patrick Trimby. He did it at Starmind, then he did it at Larry, then he did it Unique, now he does it at Taskbase. And we had this session with Session VC, right? Early stage VC fund. And the host asked Trimby, like, how do you build a sales org? And we both, like, I laughed out loud, right? And then Trimby said, like, honest guy that is, like, I will tell you now what I did at Unique, and I will tell you how I would recommend to do it in a normal setup. Like look, at Unique, like I was the incoming chief sales officer because the founder already built and sold a company for 100 million plus to SAP. I was like, look, we basically have 10 millions of funding. We just want to go really, really fast and like go really, really fast. So Trimby, hire 20 people if you must. Like hire the SDR, AE structure, team lead structure.
Pre-sales, everything,
And then that worked to get to the first million, but it was very expensive. Like there was quickly, but not efficiently and not without trial and error. And then the sales team now is only a fraction of like 30% of the team. And now like at Taskbase, all the companies before is like, look, the much more deliberate ways, solve this equation, right, that are shown before towards product market fit. And once you have at least a path to that, then hire a salesperson.
Yeah. And that's a critical point too, this product market fit. I mean, it's good that you put that formula a little bit in a to me a little bit complex, but that's okay.
It is complex, right? That's the thing.
But that's where the most of the startups are not doing enough time, that they have. Maybe they don't have the product, even with the first 10 customers, they don't have the product market fit as it should be because they never scale. Now, long sales cycles.
People want to do it in reverse, right? They want to automate, scale, industrialize, put themselves out of the equation way before. And that was a bit the narrative. 2020 to 2022, sales should be an engine and it's coming from the US, but US, yes, up to go from like 20 to 100 million ARR, but not like 0 to 1. 0 to 1, that also goes to the question about total compensation package, like fixed plus bonus plus rev share. It's not about revenue. The revenue is insignificant, right? I mean, Uwe, like if you think back about your times at SAS or Pegasystems, you cannot make money at a startup that you get from 100K to 500K. Like you get like Pegasystems, a deal you close is maybe like 2 million, and if you get 25% of that, like okay, fine, like get 500K. If you work on a deal for 2 years, that's great. But as a startup, it's about learning velocity, right? So if you incentivize a thing on OKRs, so do learning velocity, don't do variable comp on revenue below 500K or below even 1 million. That's my point. Shares for sure. Like if that person is the one that gets you from 100K towards product market fit, that's probably the most important. That's the game-changing hire, right? That's like, do you make it to the 4% of startups that get to 1 million, or to the 0.4 that get to 10 million? If that hire gets 5%, 10% equity, like over time, I'm happy. Fine by me.
So we have at least two things which are important. One is really that we discussed is founder transformation or founder-led sales. This is important. The company has to solve that equation, but including that the founder will be not the best salesperson anymore. Is that correct, Manuel? If you do that generalizing?
The founder will probably always be the best salesperson. I mean, I have this conversation with like literally the most successful growth stage companies, and Roger Dudler of Frontify and Samuel Müller of Scandit and Chris Schlossmann from Beekeeper, they still go into deals. They don't go into every 4-figure or 5-figure deal, but if there's like the largest deal in company history, if the deal is like when they newly joined the US, like Samuel Müller moved over to the US like for years, he was the first salesperson, right? So every time you do something that's new, that you haven't reached a certain repeatability, the founder must do it because they know the product best, they have the most authority. It's the easiest for them to generate pipeline and to close deals and then make it repeatable, figure out the variables.
But this example shows that they have a system in place which the founder is not the only person anymore, the most important person. So that's what I'm
for sure.
What I would say, that should be a takeaway anyway. So if you are invested in a company or you are a startup founder and everything is on you and you're the only person who can sell that will never be a scaling company, or mostly not, because you have to implement a system, you have to implement methodology.
But the founder needs to build the system, right? Not the junior SDR that is freshly from university and has no clue about.
Or the sales, the experienced Oracle sales manager.
Salespeople are like pilots, right? Like they're great at what they do. They're not engineers necessarily. Don't ask the pilot to go back and fix the plane. That's reasons why airlines don't do this.
Okay, that's a good takeaway. So we should keep the founders in a, and that's why a salesy founder is always or a sales-minded founder is very important for our investments.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I think the key point is you need also in a startup dedicated sales resource. And even if the founder is very talented, he doesn't have the bandwidth. So you need someone who is dedicated only to sales and is completely and is responsible for it and focused on the sales side. And you don't need an army of 5 or 10 salespeople at the beginning, but one person who is kind of the focal point of all sales activity. And then when you ask me what kind of salespeople to hire, the key requirements for me are, first of all, he should know the industry, maybe more than one industry, and he should have a reasonable network already. So knowing the market, know the people, know their topics, and go from there. If he's 25 or 60, is not so relevant for me. Younger people might be more enthusiastic. Older people have a bigger network naturally, but the age is not critical for me. It's really the network and the knowledge of the industry. But then I would like to add, you mentioned product market fit already. I would extend that and say you need a proper go-to-market strategy to start with, even before you hire salespeople. You have to know what market segments do we want to attack with what solutions. That's where I would start. And then go from there and hire the salesperson. And then, sales is a craft, but you can learn it. But still, it's very useful. And you mentioned that in your slide deck as well, Manuel. I would really recommend the methodology, either Medic or Challenger or Miller Hyman, strategic selling, it doesn't matter. But any methodology, as you say, Manuel, is better than none. So that would be my points. Go-to-market strategy, dedicated sales resource, methodology, and then be pragmatic with the dashboards and the forecasting and the pipeline management.
Yeah, I think this is so important what you just mentioned on a common language within the company. Also to Mark's question like 10 minutes ago, how can we align and engage multiple stakeholders and make sure it's not just motivation, but you actually understand, right? I see this over and over that people come into deal reviews and there's like, hey, it's very exciting and Ralph is very excited about these deals and this is a huge opportunity in a huge company and they have lots of money. That's not how you qualify deals, right? Like Medic, for example, if you say like the metric to change is to reduce operational costs by 30% on a 10 million baseline, which is 3 million. This guy, like Ralph in his role as board member of SICTIC, is the key economic buyer, and the decision maker is the committee around Uwe Bürgin, who's leading this unit, with the competition being the status quo, which is pen and paper, and also a large in-house team which would lose their job if we deploy this. And the paper process, we need to get a purchase order in SAP, which in itself takes 3 months. So even if we reach functional agreement, X, Y, Z, but that everybody follows a common language. That's what you do in any other field, right? Like chef in a kitchen, music in orchestra, sports in a professional team, and it's so rare in go-to-market. As another conversation, if marketing, sales, customer success, product, and leadership talk the same language, that's level 2. But yeah.
So what I take out of this conversation is in addition methodology. So we would agree methodology is very important, but there's no the golden bullet methodology, just usable, adaptive. I think so. It's also very important because the style of selling, do you sell as POC? Do you see direct the product is very important. And also, and I think I want to hook up on the sales DNA of those person. It has to have experience. It's good. Too young is not good. Too old is not good. And I often see that senior salespersons are having problems in startups because the marketing material, the sales material is not there. I mean, and the product functionality is so narrow. It's MVP plus. So that senior salespeople sometimes have really problems to adapt. And then comes my next question on that. How can you expect as a founder that your first salesperson, senior or junior, is understanding the product very well and can specifically also answer questions as a salesperson towards the product and even the industry topics, specifically like AI today? Have you to be an AI expert as a salesperson, or is it enough that you follow the process, you hook on the right spot, you identify the sales, the buying center, etc., etc.?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Uwe, do you want to go first?
Yeah, Uwe.
You don't need to be an expert in the technology or in the solution, but you have to be able as a salesperson to position the solution. Even when already the product specialists and the architects, etc., are involved, you know the account best. and you know how you have to know how to position the solution exactly for this prospect.
If it's for me, it's not a solution expert, but rather a problem expert. Like the salesperson should really understand the problem of a very specific industry, like that person really, really deeply, right? That's why some of the most successful companies are founded by a really senior person. Like Zoom, for example, is an example. I think it was founded, the founder was 45 and it just knew the problem really deeply from his expertise. The problem, not the solution. The solution emerges over time. Because the salesperson is always okay to say, like, I don't know the exact AI, machine learning, Gen AI answer to this, but if relevant, if this is the last thing you need to get this through the board, I will bring in my senior solution architect in this call. I will bring in my compliance and regulatory and whatever director, if it's a pharma use case, whatever. I mean, in AI specific, but it's true for any tech solution. The more companies scale, the less they talk about AI. And like about 20% of our clients are AI-based clients, like Unique, StarMind, like the one I built up sales with, like a lot more Acodis and so on. I mean, we even reverted to just like having one slide about AI, which was just a screenshot of the 36-page ETH white paper, and people just, can you show us the AI? Like, well, here are the formulas, and like, oh, I use these Greek letters for breakfast, and both laughed from the buyers, like, yeah, whatever, like, we don't care so much, like, please ship the API to our tech architects so they can have fun together, state disalignment, as long as it works and it gets it up and running, fine.
So another question or a topic is tool question. I mean, Manuel, yeah, you're HubSpot reseller for sure, but how important is the tool really?
I think it's
it's a must-have, crucial.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things, like the earlier you get it done, at least on a basic level, the more pain you save yourself later. I mean, we're not a HubSpot reseller by DNA, right? We just like, I mean, I have a Salesforce background, so I earned a living 3 years implementing Salesforce. I got to know it 12 years ago at Tesla. And I was fascinated by being able to walk to the showroom to a car, type in 3 numbers, the vehicle identification number, and know who that car belongs to, like what happens with it, when is it picked up, what do we need to make sure, what's the price and so on. Can I sell it? Can I basically book it? Can I do an upsell based on that? HubSpot is just the dominant CRM for just B2B entrepreneurs. No, that's not what I said. But it's just like the dominant CRM solution for B2B entrepreneurs with less than 100 to even 500 people nowadays, because it's really nimble and you don't need a huge army of like Salesforce consultants to make things happen. But also you can scale with it from basically 0 to 100K to 1 million to 10 and beyond, with marketing and sales and customer success and even service in it. Because right now your buyer expects a consistent journey. They don't want to talk to 4 people and explain the same thing every single time. And if like you do these handover points, this will inevitably happen, right? And I mean, we just want to deal against like 2 of the biggest global HubSpot partners, because the company said, look, we don't want a tool, right? Like, yes, HubSpot is just a tool, but it doesn't provide value as a tool. It's never an IT thing. It's a business transformation thing. It goes back to the methodology you mentioned, Uwe, to the go-to-market strategy, that everybody lives that consistently.
Uwe, I mean, you agree on that?
Yes, I would agree. You need a proper CRM.
Yeah, I'm also agree on that. So we have consensus on that. Maybe an add-on, just my most value out of those tools is history, keeping history, traction, because if you have changing salespeople, and that could happen, so if it doesn't work within 6 or 9 months, you have to let him go. You want to have a proper history, what he has done, and this is the most difficult part of the tool. That
spreadsheets don't have history.
Yeah, consistently adding up the information, and especially for the founders. The founders sometimes are too lazy to do it, and that should be the idol the sales tool. So you always see, when you look on the sales tool, you see how the founders are, if they're consistent, really doing the proper reports, or are they just like putting in, I had a meeting with this guy and that's it, and no conclusion, no going on. So I think that's also like, that's more operational thing, but it's very important to do that. Now we have the topic scaling, and we know all scaling is now the product market fit is there in Switzerland. And you mentioned the US, and that's very, very good to hear. So for me, still, to go international is one of the hardest topics in the world, the hardest things to do as a company. This is for startups or even for mature companies. Do you have any insights? Maybe so like an assessment, is it worth, if a company comes to you or startup and saying, we see that our product market fit Switzerland is good, so we tried that, we have now 10 customers, we don't want to go to Germany, we want directly go to the US because of blah, 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 this is the market to go, and we have a global product. What would you say, what you have to do to really make that? It's just sales, just moving, like you said, the founder to the US. Can you share some experiences on that?
Yeah, Uwe, you want to go first, or shall I?
I will be short on that, because I mostly work for global companies, which were global already. But one point I would like to stress is you have to be successful in your home market, because before you go to international markets.
100% plus 2 or plus about 100 to Uwe, right? If I could found one company, like it would probably be like ICP.com. So like, I mean, my question would be, do you need to, right? Personia is like the highest valued B2B SaaS company in the German-speaking market. They don't have any customers outside of DACH, basically. But they do 9-figure ARR, they do 100 million plus. Just in DACH, right? I mean, I get asked this question on a weekly basis. Manuel, when do you go to the US? When do you go to the Nordics? When do you go to UK? When do you go international with SalesPlaybook? It's like, hey, we barely scratched the surface at like 7-figure annual revenue. Like we get now into private equity cases, right? We get now into like some SMB cases, but we're very far from done in DACH. And most companies can probably do like 10 million at least in their home country, like in DACH or the region. Many can do 100 if they just deliver it. And it's number one
100
mistake.
is very good, actually, to say that.
100
million,
is very good.
You would be to the top companies.
100 is very good, but I mean, yeah, I mean, like it's probably like 0 companies in Switzerland that do 100 million ARR. Like, I mean, confidential numbers, ask Frontify, Candid, Beekeeper themselves. I know the number, Bixio, I'm sitting right now, by the way. not 100, really successful company. Yeah, I mean, 100 is hard, right? Like sometimes also sales hires, right? They're just like uneducated. I was like, hey, like the founders told me we'll go IPO, and asked them, like, how many software IPOs have you seen in Switzerland in the last decade? And I was like, yeah, probably like 100. Like, no, the number is pretty much 0.
But coming back,
like,
so what you're saying is this move, like it sounds pretty amazing, but that's so much hard work. So you can do that also in the DACH region.
just do more of the same.
Yeah.
Yes, they are formulated, like we get educated in school, in university. Like once you take an exam, like you move on, right? You get a grade and then you do the next subject. Sales go-to-market should be just take the same exam all the time, and you get better at knowing the answers, right? Even if you got half of the answers right the first time, you get the same exam again with the same questions. The environment didn't change, like the same answers are still valid. Do the same exam for as long as you're allowed to, until the school drops you out. That's what you want to do. Just have it like intellectually very non-stimulating. If you got one Kantonalbank, there's 25 more for you. And before you have those,
but
like,
scaling within Switzerland is mostly very difficult, and scaling is only possible if you really have the product market fit. So that's a combination to say, yeah. And then you need the right sales force. So you have actually so many balls to juggle in the air, and with nowadays financing rounds, which are not that big anymore as they were. Maybe it's so it's getting difficult, what I want to say. The more creative do you have, and the more I would say consulting maybe to get from Manuel or from the Uwes of this world. That's where I'm coming back to why we did this seminar. First of all, to see, is there something new? So we learned social marketing should be a must. We saw some still old-fashioned recipes still work as today, and it's still a tricky thing. And for us investors, I mean, it would be good that the company just scales by a snip, but that's not possible. So we should support them. Now we have some questions from the audience. So one of the questions what should the salesperson never do? That's more an operational thing. I give that to Uwe. So
yes, never start with talking about your solution. Start with talking about the problems for the customer.
Listening time should be more than 50%. Yeah, that's another thing that the most sales are just shooting out the language and da 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 da. Okay.
That's actually a fascinating one. And I was by a scale-up founder, like tasked to have the last interview round with their incoming chief sales officer. And at one point, the person showed 50 minutes late because they're like, I overstepped with the board members, so I'm 50 minutes late, and I will tell you why. Like, no, show up on time and, tell me why. You just need to apologize and say, how can I help you get this job? And then after like 15 minutes straight, it was 6:45 p.m., right? Asking like, so it's a little story about an elephant and a lion. The elephant has big ears to listen and then go into the right direction, have no competition. The lion roars broadly and is in a lot of fights. Who are you? I was like, I'm of course an elephant. I will tell you 2 more stories. And he didn't get the job, even if it was perfect fit. And I mean, the thing is just on this, what a salesperson never do not sell anything that breaks the company. We had, as a B2B SaaS company, we had this one interview question I put into remote task in the role play, right? And at one point, I just put a few yes questions, like, hey, can we do a kickoff on site? Like, yeah. Can you also like add 2 licenses if we grow? Like, yeah. Can you do installation on premise for us in our basement here in Schlieren? And it's like, yeah, of course. Like, okay, out. Like, we had a sign at the table, like, this is gone, right? Because like, how if it's a pure play SaaS play, right? Like one GitHub branch, and the salesperson's like, yeah, we can do on premise, signs the contract, like, you're screwed. A, you lose your reputation, or B, you lose your product.
That can happen, yeah. Especially when the sales are new, they're a little bit over accelerating. So what's the recommended total compensation? Well, that's a very difficult question, but let's put on fix versus shares bonus. So what have you seen here in the scene in Switzerland?
We answered these questions actually before, right?
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah, you said like going more for a fixed one, not variable, a little bit shares, huh? Okay.
I mean, the key point in this, there's great data from a site called RepVue, repvue.com, and they actually put out compensation data from public companies where people go in and say like, I'm a verified sales
that's
company.
Cool, yeah.
My on target earnings are 300K, 150K base, 150K variable, and I hit quota XYZ. So you can actually see if people hit quota or not. I just pushed this yesterday. I think like OT might be the biggest scam.
Can you put that in the chat that we see?
I cannot technically, because I can only message panelists, it seems.
Yeah.
But you might be able to.
I might be able to. I have no clue.
You can also send it and I can copy paste it to the
Okay, thank you.
chat for everyone.
Cool. I just put it to the panelists here.
Joel, yeah. We are fixed on our little bubble.
I mean, that's like a case study for you to create, right? I mean, my easiest sales hire was the second one after the first one was tremendously successful, because I was asking him, can I show the bank statement to the new hire of you versus your previous company? Like, yes. It's like, okay, cool, I want to start. It was much more difficult for the third one, because then pipeline was drying up and it was not so successful anymore. and that this was then breaking again.
Cool tip. Then Max asks, how can we align and engage multiple stakeholders in a large company to ensure everyone necessary is on board for closing a deal? Often motivated contents are not even aware who the decision maker are. That's the buying center, Miller-Hyman methodology. It's still on use that you do that. I mean, you have to do that. That is a little bit the problem for a small company where you just have the founder and not several hierarchies from sales, senior sales, chief of sales, blah, 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 to the founders. But that's crucial, I think, so that you have that. Uwe is still,
100%.
yeah.
Again, someone is coordinating it, and that's the
Yeah.
dedicated sales resource.
Yeah. And he has to be capable to do that.
Of course.
We
There's
call that the
one-
buying center analysis. It's very important that you understand the motivation of every person in the organization, decision, or stakeholders. That's a lot of work. That's could be for larger sales deal the work for a salesperson and his experience on that. Manfred made a statement. One of the main challenges to scale from founder-led to sales-led is onboarding training processes. Yeah, we discussed that, structure, knowledge, because the founder has everything. He is like breathed, lived with the solution and expanded it. And it's for a person from external coming in, it's super difficult. Now, here is an additional question. Is it bad when the salesperson always goes back to the founder and asks, like, what should I send for marketing material? Or should I, as a founder, should let him go and try it out? Or should I control that process? What do you think, Uwe? What would you do as an advisor here?
Well, from the management style, I would do micromanagement, but they have to communicate every day, of course, the salesperson and the CEO, especially in the beginning.
So expectation-wise, the founder should not be 100% sure that the salesperson is doing independently everything. Huh?
No.
That is the main conclusion. So a BD, so business development, actually, I hate the term business development. That sounds like not sales. I love salesperson, but that's a person should understand the value and brings it to the prospect, not necessarily in all details. This is also one of the sales methodology, value-based selling. How important is that?
It's the key thing.
Key.
You have to
And we don't see it so much.
Value across, not the
we've seen
detailed features of the product.
We've seen multiple clients, like a dozen basically or more, multiplying average contract values without changing the product, without changing even the team, without changing the market, and just going from 5 to 20K deals, from 10 to 40K, from 5K to closing 180K 5-year contract, just by value selling, by solving different problems, sometimes for different people and segments, sometimes just like really arguing differently. So very important. Because if your ACV for the same buyer journey is 4x high, you need to close 4x less deals, you need 4x less pipeline.
And I see even mature companies who still not have a value statement. They don't know what value they brought with their solution to the company, their clients. And sometimes it's a very hard exercise to figure that out later. So I would suggest that should be also one part of the sales methodology and implementation of sales processes is to really concrete, build out the value and make a proof of it. And that helps a lot in the selling process. Okay, we are at the end. Thank you very much, Uwe, for your insights. And just to mention, Uwe is a SICTIC member. So if you want to be part of that SICTIC community, you can do that online on the webpage, 750 francs per month. Thank you, Manuel, for your insights. I mean, I think everybody can take out something for his investments or as a founder. And danke, Joel, for organization that event. We're seeing us soon with a new topic. or you come to the masterclasses as SICTIC member, or you show up at the next event. We have some bombastic, great events coming on. So go on the SICTIC homepage and look the events, reserve the date, book your seat early. I tell you, book it early. Otherwise, you will have to look it on the streaming, which is less fun than to be present on in the room. Thank you very much, all of you. Have a nice
Thank you all.
afternoon, and I need now a spicy snack. Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks so much for hosting.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.